Good afternoon, Harlem and Harlems of the world. I'm Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. And Harlem Network News started at the onset of COVID, and we are still here. And our mission is to assure that Harlem and the Harlems of the world are informed, engaged, and called to action. We are the voice and the drumbeat of Harlem. And as we all know, it is Black History Month. But for us, Black History Month is 365 days a year. But I wanted to acknowledge that. And we're just trying to feature a lot of things that are happening in our community. I want to send up prayers and blessings for one of our new ancestors, Brother Philip Johnson of Newark, New Jersey, an educator for many years, making a difference in the school, an activist also known as PJ. And I was over there in Newark at his homegoing yesterday. And let me tell y'all, Newark is looking good. That's a lot of new housing. Raz Baraka and Midi Baraka, y'all are doing it. So it was refreshing to go to Newark and see that and just meet some of the educational and the people of Newark that have been on that battlefront for a long time. So without further ado, I want to introduce Lady Lea and also our Harlem Diva songstress, and that is in the person of Leeolive Tucker. And they've got some very special things going on Mondays during this Black History Month. So Lady Lea, just introduce yourself and tell us who you are, who's
All
you,
right.
and what's happening. So thank
Thank you, Terri. Thank you so much for having me and for having us on the show. Of course, you were so right to state that Black history is American history. It's 365 days of the year. We are blessed to have an opportunity to bring some of our history to the folks that just don't know. So that is why the title of our show is A Short History of the Blues.
All right.
We are doing a show at Silvana, which is a club restaurant here in Harlem on 116th Street, every Monday this month of February. The show starts at 6:30. The house opens at 6 o'clock, so don't be late. It is a theatrical production, so we want people to get in there on time. We are pinpointing just a few, and I have to just really, really exaggerate that. It's just a few of our stars, our legends from the music industry, from the blues, which has been the foundation of all music in this country. All music has the foundation of the blues. And so we wanted to share that. Leeolive, who is one of our starring characters in the show, she is just a fabulous talent, has always been here in Harlem way before I came to Harlem. And she's been singing and doing her thing with the music. So we want to share that with folks. So I'm gonna let her tell a little bit about her part in the show, and
yes, thank you.
We'll fill it in from there.
Go right ahead, Leeolive.
Well, okay. I was hoping you would tell a little more about the evolution of the project, but I am blessed to play Bessie Smith.
All right.
Bessie Smith is definitely the empress of the blues, and she picked up the torch from Ma Rainey. And we have in our cast Tina Fabrique, who played Ma Rainey in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
All right.
So we have Broadway stars in our cast and all kinds of talent. And we have a wonderful band in Phil Young's band, and he's doing a blues band. And we're going to really just bring it to you. We start everywhere. We start like in roots. We go from our original African beginnings to the cotton fields where the music was the only thing that we owned, and we made our music to keep our souls alive through the harshest times we ever had to deal with. And it fed our spirits and our souls and allowed us to grow into the backbone of America, which is what we are. We did so many things, invented so many things, and have brought so much light and love to this whole culture, that it's a beautiful thing, because the blues ain't nothing but a good person feeling bad and expressing it so that sadness doesn't go through their heart. It just can go right out into the air and be dissipated, and we can rejoice in the beauty around us.
Thank you. Thank you for putting it like that, Leeolive. And for those of you who are just joining us, I am Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. And you can find us on YouTube every Sunday. We do like our normal 4 o'clock show. We'll do a 7:30 show. And the beauty of it is that you can always go to our YouTube channel. Our shows stay up, or you can go to our Facebook. We're on Instagram, TikTok, all of the social media, so that we really reach everyone. But, ironically, when I first met Leeolive, she came to our guest house, and she was doing a program and a luncheon for some folks that were coming from another state. And it was kind of the history of the blues, or the history of jazz, actually. So Leeolive is a very knowledgeable person. She's an amazing singer, but she's also comes from a long line of Harlem activism and leadership. And so she has a lot to offer. But Lady Lea, tell us a little bit about how this show came to be, why you thought it was important. Is this the first time that we're doing the show? And how the pieces of the puzzle all came together? Thank you.
Okay, sure. Again, my name is Lady Lea. I'm a songstress, actress, voiceover artist. I've been performing my entire life. And when I came to Harlem 15 years ago, I felt right at home with the onslaught of musicians and vocalists that were already here doing the thing. And so I got involved. I was able to bring in some of my expertise in terms of the stage and acting and directing. And I saw where we need to be able to educate our young people about what this is all about our history. Music is one of those things that really speaks to the world. It's a universal language. It certainly is a language that our young people understand. And so what not a better way to try and educate them on some of the history than through the music. The blues has always been, like I said, the foundation of music here in this country. It has always been something that Black folks have been able to lean on. It's the only thing, like Leeolive said, the only thing that we owned in this country was our music. So we started off with our hymns, then we went into how music kind of transformed itself into the blues, and then into jazz, and then into gospel, and into R&B. And we look at that, then into rap. We look at that, those segues, those transitions, and we try to fill in the gaps for our young people who don't know characters like Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith was the first Black actress, woman, singer to record anything.
Wow.
Back in the 1920s, and like I said, young folks don't know this, back in the 1920s, the music industry felt like, why should they record Black artists? They didn't think Black folks would buy the record players. They didn't think Black folks would buy the records. So it wasn't until just by happenstance that Bessie Smith in 1920 was able to fill in. Another singer, a white singer, had to cancel, and she was right there. She was able to fill in for that recording session. And then all of a sudden, record companies were like, look at what is right in front of us, the money that was there. Of course, that was their motivation. But for us, it was about acknowledgement of our struggles, acknowledgement of our triumphs. Music the blues doesn't just talk about our sad times. It also talks about our good times. And so I felt like this was an important and an opportunity to write a script, which I wrote. Basically, I wrote the segues in between the time periods and the characters to tell how we went from one stage to the other. And the musicians and the singers, of course, they did the rest. We have a fabulous cast. Tina Fabrique, as Leeolive stated, C. Kelly Wright,
All
Tommy
right.
Thompson. Oh, yes.
Mm.
Frank Lacey, Latrice Arlene. Those are just a few of the folks.
Oh my
And
goodness.
we've put together a show that brings you from the days of slavery where they were humming as a way to comfort, as well as a way to communicate. There were lots of messages in the music, and there still are. There still are. When you look at rap, that's all rap is. It's a bunch of messages that we want to send and uplift each other through. So that's how the show kind of came about. And I'm a friend. Phil Young is a friend of mine. He's been doing
Okay.
the blues at Silvana for the last 3 years. He's been wanting to
Okay.
for folks to
Okay.
know this genre of music.
Mhm.
So he asked me if I would be involved in the project.
Mhm.
I told him right away, I said, yes, I'd love to. I said, but I don't want to perform because I am a singer. I don't want to
Okay.
perform. I want to direct. I want
Okay.
to
I
direct
hear
the
you.
show and help to manage it and to bring forth some of those things that folks, some skills and talents folks didn't even know they had. I have singers up in there who are acting on stage and they didn't even
Okay.
know they could do that. But
Okay.
so we are expanding the knowledge, we're expanding the music. We want folks to come out even past February. Every Monday is
Okay.
Blues Monday. Phil's House of
Mhm.
Blues is every Monday, and you can come out anytime. But we want you certainly to come out during the month of February and check
Okay.
out our
And what is the title of the piece again? And where is Silvana's? And what time should they
show.
get there? The cost of admission, just so folks are prepared. And I
Gotcha.
know Sylvanas has some wonderful food and drink. And
Yes,
will that
yes,
be available for purchase? What's going
yes,
on?
absolutely. The venue is called Silvana. It's on 116th Street, 300 West 116th Street. That's just a little bit further west of 8th Avenue. So if you take the C train to 8th Ave to 116th Street, you can get off and you're basically right there. The food
Absolutely.
is great. They have a wonderful uh, um, selection of foods and some vegetarian options as well.
Mhm.
They are open every day of the week. We are performing every Monday, the month of
Mhm.
February. The doors open at 6 o'clock. I tell you, get in there at six
I
o'clock
hear you.
because it fills up fast. The show opens promptly at 6:30. I'm one of
Right.
those. I'm one of those. I was a Girl Scout, and
Okay.
I believe in doing things on time. I know that's something that is not very popular sometimes in our community, but it is a necessary skill to have, to know how to be on
Mhm.
time, and you want to be there on time. We start right at 6:30. The cost of admission is $10, which is
Okay. I
very
love it.
modest. When I tell you
I love it.
this is the quality of an off Broadway production. So for $10, you're going to get that. You're going to meet some wonderful folks. And after our show, which is about 90 minutes, we do have a 10-minute intermission. There's a fabulous blues set that happens. Musicians, we invite you to come in. Singers, we
Mhm.
invite you to come in. They do an open jam. And it's just a wonderful time of
Mhm.
celebration and collaboration. So we want
Okay.
to know about it,
Hmm.
come in, and to be a part.
Okay. Well, I love it. I'm Terri Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News. And we are here with the creator and writer of the history of blues and one of the
A short
performers.
history, a short
A
history of the
short
blues.
history of the
There's no
blues.
way we
A
could have
short
been
history.
able
Yeah,
to
that would
cover
be,
the
I got
entire
you.
spectrum. There's just
Right.
so much. There's just so much. So this is a
Mhm.
short
A short
history of the
history
blues. Mm.
of the history of the blues. And we are here also with Leeolive Tucker, Harlem Diva, and one of the performers. And I'm really excited just based on the lineup of the singers. Many of them are people that I am familiar with. We had a restaurant for a good long time, Harlem Besame, and
Oh,
a lot of those folks came through there and sang. So I know what the quality is. So folks, get out, get connected. And I also loved what you said, Leeolive, when you were like, the blues was an outlet for us. And I think that's something that young people can connect to in terms of music.
Oh,
If we're looking
yes, indeed.
outlet.
And all of the blues, like Lady Lea said, is the holy ground nation and seminal fluid of
Mhm,
all the music that exists today. Like scat
mhm,
was the first
mhm,
rap, and everything
mhm,
has just evolved into another level. But our
mhm.
music is still our lifeline. It's an expression of our culture, and it helps us to survive and communicate. So that's the most
Yeah.
important thing, is for
Mhm.
everybody to see the love lines and the lifelines that still come from our music into our culture, into our hearts and souls, and
Right.
preserve the beauty of who we are as
Yeah.
Africans in America.
Yes. Well said, Lealis. And I think that's very important for our young people to know and understand, because there's a lot going on with our young people, with them not really connecting,
Yes,
with them turning to, in some instances, substances to make them feel
and
good, or
violence.
just zoning out on the phone, idly just looking at anything. So understanding that we come from something, that we
Come
come
from
from
greatness.
greatness, and that has a lot to do with the arts and culture uh, really being needed in the schools, so
Mhm.
they can connect and they can understand. They're just not there to learn blindly, but they've got to connect to their self and their culture. And it appears you're just saying the same thing. And I love what you said, in terms of the rap and the scat and all of that. And rap is really telling stories. And that's why it's really important, like what is being said in
Mhm.
these songs, because it's very influential. That's
Yes,
what music does. It can make you feel things and think things. So we want our young people thinking and
positive.
feeling the right thing, as
Yeah.
in gospel and different things. People were singing and thinking and feeling about some freedom.
Mhm.
They weren't thinking and feeling about like killing one another and doing
No.
this and doing that. So we got to
Mhm.
really and truly look at this. Now, is Lady Lea,
Mhm.
is this the first time that the show is premiering, or
Yeah.
have you done the show before?
No, this is absolutely our world premiere.
All right.
That's what's so exciting about it, because hopefully we will be able to take the show into other venues here in Harlem and maybe even beyond the city. But it is critical that our young people know the narrative, the correct narrative of their history, of their lives. We live in a time where there's too many lies being
Yes,
told, or the
Mhm.
truth is being hidden altogether. Lee Olive and I, we are old enough to know that a lot of our history has not been brought forward.
Mhm.
nope.
It has not been shared with our young people. I'm learning things here as an adult that I never learned when I was in school, when I was in elementary school. And I'm like, wow, that's something that's really important. That's something that really shaped the values and
Mhm.
parts of this country, the culture in this country. Why didn't we learn about that? Well, we already know the answer to that. Those same forces are still trying to deny and defy the truth in terms of banning books and banning
Yes,
certain kinds of music and banning certain stories. I mean, when we think about it, this culture, we often think, and maybe young people often think that, if you weren't a Kennedy or a Vanderbilt or a Rockefeller or, someone in those levels, that, that was just our bad luck. No, we had the
Mhm.
Jacksons, we had the
Right.
Wilsons, we
Right.
had the Johnsons,
Mhm.
we would still have that tier of
Mhm.
wealth and knowledge if it hadn't been for certain forces during
Right.
Reconstruction and the Jim
Yes.
Crow era that murdered and that brutalized and that
Mhm.
defied those of us that were trying to grow and make a difference.
Mhm.
And no,
Mhm.
we are not a culture that looks for handouts. We have come from warriors. We know how to build societies. We know how to grow our people. But when you're put into a position where you're constantly defending yourself for life, you're trying to defend, you just want to breathe the next day.
Yes.
Of course, that's going to hamper your progress. But thank God, and hopefully we are coming out of that. I think our young people, I love our millennials. I love our millennials because I think they are like looking at certain things and like, wait a minute, that don't add up. That don't make no sense. There's more to the story. There's more to the story than that. And so I'm grateful to have an opportunity and a hand in bringing that story to life. And certainly, like I said, music is a universal language. It's one of those things that people gravitate to because it doesn't just speak to your ear, it speaks to your soul. You know,
Yes.
you hear some notes, it actually makes your body vibrate. So
Right. Yes. Yes.
it is a real form of communication and for sharing knowledge, for sharing narratives that our young people can hold on to and be proud of. That's another thing. Be proud of your history, the things that maybe you hadn't learned about before. Come out and learn and
Yes.
listen.
Very,
And
very
that's for all
critical.
people. That's for all
Yeah.
people. I
It's
invite all cultures to come learn and listen because
no,
I
it's
find that a
important.
lot of people are curious. They want to know. They want to know just what happened. Just how did this thing go? And so we invite everybody to come out and be a part of the celebration.
No, absolutely. Because as we are Harlem Network News, you know, we say we are for Harlem and the Harlems of the world. Harlems of the world encompasses a lot, but
Yes.
it's really for everyone so that everyone can really understand, know who we are. And as you said, we are finding out things every day. And I encourage the young people, the old people, you know, as you have these phones, use it to Google information.
Oh, this
It's
is
Yes.
a
wonderful. Oh my
worldwide
goodness, the things that
situation.
we're finding out.
You can use it, you know, not for random stuff, but to
Yeah,
Google information. You
yeah.
know,
A great
encyclopedias are
learning
limited. They
tool.
have to come out with a new edition every year. But
Mhm.
you've got a walking wealth of knowledge. And when we look at statistics, and you know, not to tarry on this, but we look at the enslavement, the Maafa, the coming across the Middle Passage. And when you look at the numbers, some of the highest numbers that left Africa, not only West Africa, but Southeast Africa, and were transplanted, Brazil and Colombia have some of the highest numbers. You don't hear that. You don't think about, you know, how did these people end up in Bahia? And you don't also know that there were some who went to Brazil and then went back to Africa. You know, so there's so much that we don't know. So it's
Yeah.
very critical that we open the minds and the hearts and the spirits of all of us and the young people, you know, because we're all reachable. And I think the great thing in doing the music, it's another way of reaching. Now, Lady Lea, just a moment now, you shared that you came from somewhere to Harlem. Where did you come from? Why did you come? Thank you.
Well, I grew up in a little town called Urbana, Ohio. And when I tell you this town is the closest thing you can get to Mayberry, for
All
those of us
right.
who watched Andy Griffith when we were kids, we had one school, one post office, one couple of grocery stores, one police department. I mean, this was a small redneck town. The largest industry there was potato and dairy farming. And so
Wow.
I grew up in a town understanding what it meant when it was sundown town, understanding what my parents talked about when they told me, you have to be twice as good. This is the path that you have to be on to be successful in this country. And as I got older, of course, I started to understand what the challenges were for Black folks in this country. And so I couldn't wait to get away from that town. I, oh my God, I was like, I couldn't wait to turn 18. My father, his mother lived in New York City. She
Okay.
came by way of Chicago from New Orleans, from Chicago, and then to New York. She was one of those families that migrated north to escape the Jim Crow, to escape the lynchings. So her family came to Chicago, and then they ended up in New York. So my dad, he would bring us to New York every summer. And I was like, oh my God, to come from Mayberry to see New York City every summer, it was like heaven. And I was like, one of these days I'm gonna live in a place like that. And so after I graduated from Northwestern University, I met my husband there, and we came to New York City. We were both performers, and we started a life in performance. I do lots of commercial work and on camera work, which is where most people recognize my face. And I'm like, I want to share this. This is such a great tool to be able to share knowledge, to be able to share information, and it pays well. How about that?
Okay, very important. That's how we keep going.
That's how we keep going.
That is absolutely how we keep going. So on that note, please donate to Harlem Network News to help keep us going.
Absolutely.
No matter how small or how large, you can go to harlemnetworknews.org, Zella.
I certainly will.
We
have so many talents. We have so many talents in our community, and I definitely want to be there to share. I've been teaching for, oh my God, 20 years at least. And I try to help those folks who want to get into the industry. I try to help train them and bring them along, help them to know exactly what to expect and how to move forward if this is something that they want to do. It's not easy. It's very competitive.
No, absolutely.
But it's fun. It is fun, but it's hard work, and it's rewarding. It's rewarding. I love being able to share the industry with young folks and anybody really who wants to take a toe and dip it there. I want to do that. So that's how I got started. That's how I got to New York City. Again, I was asked to manage some things, which led into directing. As I said, I was a Girl Scout. So I know all about that. I know all about that. That management and taking business courses in college and being the leader. I know that God has blessed me with skills and talents to be the leader. And I take that on humbly, but pridefully. I love being the leader and helping others to come along. Not everybody.
And let's continue to build leaders in the young people. Build some leadership. Don't be a consumer. One, they're coming to you. And that's what we've really got to look at. So Leeolive, would you like to give us just some closing thoughts and a little bit about your background? As Harlem Network News, we make no assumptions. We want to make sure that everybody knows everything. So we're not making any assumptions.
Well, I have been singing for 73 years continuously from age 3 when I started in my grandfather's church, which is a church that's still alive and kicking here in Harlem. It's now known as Salvation and Deliverance, and it's on 116th Street between Lenox and 5th, across the street from what used to be the Mist, the Kalahari building.
All right.
And that's the church that I grew up in. When I say I grew up in, I was a creeper, a crawler, a toddler. I know what's underneath the benches, behind the scenes, underneath the choir stand, the baptismal font, the whole thing.
Okay.
And now we are at another location because that church, which was my grandfather's church from 1937 to about 1950 something, split, and the name Walker Memorial Baptist Church, which was my grandfather J.W. Tate's original church, because he walked from Columbia, South Carolina to Augusta, Georgia to attend Walker Baptist Institute under Reverend Walker. And so when he came here, he made his church a memorial to Reverend Walker, who was the one who got him out of the cotton field as a sharecropper and into the pulpit.
I love
So
it.
I grew up
Beautiful.
doing that sort of stuff. And my mother was an activist here in the community because her father was an activist down in Georgia. And they
Okay.
came to New York to escape from just about probably being persecuted and killed for trying to get people to vote and to stand up to people and demand decent wages and things like that. So my family came to New York in 1937. I was born here in 1947,
All
and
right.
I've been here in Lord Spirit's life every day. I wake up and say hallelujah and praise Him, and I'm
Mhm.
glad to be here and still kicking and singing and meeting beautiful people like Lady Lea and yourself,
Uh-huh.
who have
Thank
supported me in my journey as
you.
an advocate for freedom and an artist through music. So
Mhm.
I thank both of you, and I'm glad to be here. And I'm glad to be working with young people. I have a grandchild that's going to Wadley right now, which is also a school for
Mhm.
music and arts.
Beautiful.
And she's 14, and she informed me the other day when I came
Uh-huh.
to visit with her that, Grammy, this is 2024. In 2028, I'll be 18 and I'll be able to vote. So
Okay.
I said,
Nice.
it's going to be very important to me because my mother left me with something that I was asked to please complete before my stay on earth is over, which is to try and see if we can get an amendment to the Constitution, which still lists us, Black American females, as 2/5 of a human being and Black American males as only 3/5 of a human being.
Okay.
So
So we
personally,
got to look at that.
the
Got to
whole
look at
human being before I
that.
leave. And
Oh,
that's why I sing, and that's why I'm out here, and that's why I'm doing the things that I'm doing and trying to make a difference in this community and in this world for human rights.
Mhm,
mhm.
mhm.
Okay.
That's
Yes.
it.
That's a beautiful thing. And I think on that note, what we really have to understand is that arts and activism go together. And
Yes.
we can look
Absolutely.
at
Yes.
many of our major
Paul
artists from
Robeson,
Harry
who is
Belafonte
represented
to
in our
Sidney
play,
Poitier.
Yes.
The arts and activism, Dick Gregory, these go together.
Nina
It's a
Simone.
passion,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
leadership, and that's what Ta-Nehisi Coates. I mean, we got to be clear that this is the direction, and we have to walk the streets. If you're in the schools, if you see young people, talk to them, touch them. They're not completely unapproachable. And if
No,
you're saying something to them that makes sense,
Mhm,
they're going
mhm,
to understand it.
mhm.
yeah,
I spoke to some young people, who were using the N word, and I was like, that's offensive to me.
Mm,
That's very offensive to me. And they were like, why, miss? Aren't you Black? And I
mm,
said, yes, but it's offensive to me. Do you know where this word comes from? It's like El
mhm,
Negro. It,
mhm,
was really used as a negative term, no
mhm.
matter if it's the GAH or the ER or whatever, because they asked that question. And I
Mhm,
said, no, it's a negative term. Like, why are you calling yourself and your friends a negative term? And they
mhm,
were like, oh, wow, miss, little fist bump. You know what I'm saying? But we've got to speak to them so that
mhm.
they can understand what they're doing and that this is a system that is out to destroy them.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to understand where we are. And as we move towards voting, and Harlem Network News is going to be putting together a voting forum,
Mm,
so that whoever the candidates for the president are, be it Trump, be it Biden, we need to have our, 13 points or however many points,
that's right.
what we
We need to have our
the Black
agenda.
Americans, what is our agenda? And
yes.
you need to adhere to our agenda. That's
Mm,
critical. We're not just giving votes. We're
right.
asking for something, we're demanding something, and you need to meet that demand. So
Right.
on that note, that's a Harlem Network News thing. So I will let you wrap it up, Lady Lea. And we really know that our media is important. Media is directing what is happening. A lot of our media has been gone, has been killed, and that's intentional.
Mhm,
A program that is going to air later on today or first thing tomorrow is on Brother Bob Law from Night Talk,
Oh, yes.
and he's still, got his show on WBAI. And I
wow.
mean, this
Wow.
brother has been doing it across the country, was
For
involved
50
with the
years at
Million
least.
Women March. I mean, sorry, Million Man March, getting New York
Uh-huh.
there. doing so much stuff. And he needs our support. You know,
Yes.
we need people to donate to Brother Bob. He had a
Mhm.
stroke, but he's still, you know, making it happen.
Mhm.
And why are our heroes and sheroes who have done so much, why are they not in good financial standing? You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
why
Mhm.
not? Look at Zora Neale Hurston. Look how
Mhm.
she died and the great things
Mhm.
she did. So we
Mhm.
got to support our heroes like our brother Bob Law. You can also donate to him through Harlem Network News and just specify that it's for brother Bob Law. But you're going to know more about him if you don't already know. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
So take us out, Sister Leah. Tell us
Well,
again
I
about the
tell you,
program.
I'm so happy and excited to be a part of a program like this because it is a way for us to pass on the knowledge and to encourage our young people. I want to say to all young people, you don't have to stand by and quote unquote take it or believe the narrative that's coming down the pipe. You can make a stand. You can understand where you come from and why that's important. You know, there are a lot of young people who don't even realize that there were Black folks in the Congress, in the Senate, in the House of Representatives before Reconstruction took everything and threw us all aside before Tulsa was Black Wall Street was you know, burned down and destroyed. Rosewood, other Black
Many,
communities. There's hundreds, and not just our community. Let me be clear about that too. Other cultures, the Native American culture,
of
even
course.
some Asian cultures that have been here in this country, you know, and shout out to the Lunar New Year, the year of the dragon.
Yes.
You know, we need to
You're the
embrace all
dragon.
peoples. I
Mhm,
believe that that's the kind of world that God would have us to
mhm.
live in is a world of love where we embrace all cultures and
And
all
respect,
peoples and
embrace and
respect
respect.
each other. Respect
Yes.
each other. So my word to the young folks is take up the call, do your part. Don't sit by idly as an onlooker, as a consumer. Be a part. You have a place in this whole story, in this whole narrative, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid because we were already there once before. We came from kings and queens. When you look at Africa, when you look at the history there, you know, there was a king that I read about just the other day. Oh my God, on Instagram. There
Mm,
was a king, I think his name was Abubakar, who
mhm.
came to the what is called the United States, traded with the Native Americans, and didn't have the audacity to want to call it some place that he had discovered because it was
Yeah.
already
They
there.
came
There were
before
people,
Columbus.
there were
We know they
already
did.
people there. So, you
Mhm,
know, this mentality of it not belonging to us, not ever having been a part of our lives, that's nonsense.
mhm,
Let's bump all of that and
mhm.
let's take our rightful place in community, in society. Let's build, let's grow together. And we certainly can do it through the music. And I want
Okay.
everybody to come out and see
Well,
the
thank you.
show every Monday. You got 3 Mondays left. 3 Mondays.
Okay.
And
Well, I'm
look,
going to make
even
sure
if
Harlem
you
Network News gets there.
even if you work on Tuesdays, next Monday is a holiday.
Okay.
That's right.
A
President's
holiday.
Day.
Okay.
So you can come
Okay.
out, you can get there by 6
Mhm,
o'clock, get
mhm,
your seat, and be a
mhm.
part of the show. We want everybody to come out and enjoy it. And we thank you
Okay.
so much for supporting. And
Okay.
definitely, I'm going to send you a check for
Okay.
your
I love
program.
it.
Just let me
Thank you
know.
so much for that
Absolutely.
kind of
Absolutely.
proactivity because that's how we have to be proactive with
Yes,
one another. We've got to circulate that
absolutely.
money within the community, that dollar, or we got to barter, but
Yes, indeed.
we got to keep it tight. And that's really what we need to do. And I would be amiss before we close this show if I did not just send up prayers for our brethren and sisters in Palestine and
Yes,
say, stop the
yes, yes,
genocide, stop the
yes,
killing,
Oh,
reach
yes.
out to all your public officials and tell them we don't want our tax dollars going to do this. And we
That's
have
right.
to raise our
That's
voice
right. That's
because
exactly
in
right.
another time, in another space, that is actually how the situation happened in Germany.
Yes.
Nobody raised their voices until it was too late.
Yes.
So
yes.
we've
Yeah.
got to raise our voices, and we've got to reach for
Right
change.
now.
We know genocide when we see genocide.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what this is. And,
Mhm,
you know, once again, you know, when we are talking about caste or race, those two things are connected. So
Yes.
it always ends up to be the people of color. And we also know that there are other situations going on in the world, in the Congo, and, you know, all kinds of other places that don't have that immediacy. So we need to look for that and ask for freedom for them too. You know,
Yes.
and it's once again land grabbing. How do you come somewhere, you know, like you said, either discover it or just come and grab people's land and now say it's yours?
Yeah.
Well, what is that? And then keep moving them and just killing them until, or, you know, I mean, this is insane. And we got to recognize what's insane, and we got to raise our voices. We can't act like it's okay, because it's
Right.
not.
Right.
So on that
Can't stand
note,
on the sidelines. We can't
no,
stand on the
we
sidelines.
cannot. That's not what we have to do.
Mhm,
You know, brothers and
Right.
sisters in the struggle, we got to
Mhm.
stand up. So
mhm,
thank
mhm.
you, thank you, thank you, Terri Wisdom, Harlem Network News, and be sure to subscribe, tell a friend, share. It takes a village, and I'm looking forward to coming to see this star-studded show. So thank you, Lady Lea. And
Thank you. Thank you so much
I'll-
for having us.
okay,
Appreciate it.
all right. Have
Thank
a,
you so much for having us on to
okay,
talk about our show.
all right.
Hope
You
we'll
know,
see you there on
that's what we
Monday.
do. Thank you. Take care. Blessings.
Peace.
Peace.